Hi Spoonies. Today I wanted to do a video on PTSD and the different types of it. And I am by no means a doctor, so I cannot diagnose you, nor can I tell you that you do have it, don't have it, but I can share with you my experience with it and tell you that PTSD is widely known as being post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's widely known as being with soldiers. And the reason for that is soldiers go through a traumatic experience when they are overseas, and not every soldier goes through that experience. Therefore, not every soldier comes back with PTSD, but there are some that do. And PTSD can also be triggered in people here, and that can be a common traumatic event that occurs. So for me, my traumatic event was when my son was diagnosed with Kawasaki disease, or I should say was misdiagnosed with Kawasaki disease. So we had went multiple times to the doctor, back and forth. He was really sick for a week, and they kept sending us home, telling us he just had a viral infection. And then finally we were admitted, and he was diagnosed as having Kawasaki disease. However, by the time he was diagnosed, it was too late, and the inflammation that was caused by the Kawasaki disease had already affected his heart. So he had 3 giant aneurysms in his heart. So with that new diagnosis became new fears, and it was very traumatizing for me as a mother going through that experience, watching my child be sick, watching my child lose, at the time he couldn't walk very well, and that subsided over time. He still has leg pains, but just the overall event of him being in the hospital, being sick, finding out that he now had a life-threatening condition really triggered something inside me. And I myself obviously have many chronic illnesses, so I was very experienced in hospitals. I was very experienced around doctors and nurses. Not only am I a chronic illness patient, but I also work in the medical field. So I was very much prepared for the situation, but something with my child going through what he went through, it triggered in me. And it took he was diagnosed in 2015. So it took about 3 years before I finally got my diagnosis of what was wrong. I had to go see, I had to first talk to my primary care doctor, and then after I talked to my primary care doctor, she had referred me to a counselor, and then the counselor then referred me on to psychiatry, and now I work with a specialist psychiatrist that actually deals with chronic illness patients. So she's very skilled in her in her field, so she can handle not only my chronic illnesses, but the fact that I'm a caretaker of my child that also has a chronic condition now. One of the biggest things that triggered me with my son was watching what he had be taken away from him. So I'm going to kind of go into a little backstory and details. Get back, Huck. I'm sitting outside with the dogs. So my husband was a wrestler all through school, and my brother's a wrestler, and so we started my son off really young wrestling. So at 3 years old, we started him in the gym. He was wrestling. He was 5th place in the state championship at 5 years old, and he was really good, and he was getting better every time. So when we found out he had the heart aneurysms and he was going to go on blood thinning medications, and certain things in his life was going to be limited, wrestling was taken away from him. And that in itself, just watching him hurt and be sad over having something he loved so much ripped away from him, really really affected him and it triggered in me. I can also specifically remember before he was diagnosed, there was one night that he was so sick on the couch, and I looked at my husband and I told him, I said, there's just something wrong with him. I was like, I know the doctors say that it's just a viral infection, but I'm like, I know him. I'm like, this is not a viral infection. There's something wrong with him. And my husband was like, just trust the doctors, you know, they've got this. They wouldn't have sent us home if they thought something was seriously wrong. And by the next morning, I finally said, no, I'm not taking no for an answer. We're going back. And we as moms have that, and dads too, but we know our children in a way that doctors sometimes don't instantly get. But back to my point of this video is the PTSD. So now, knowing what PTSD is, it took me a long time to figure out what was happening to me. I would be sitting on the couch and my heart would start racing, and I would feel like my chest was getting heavy, like someone was sitting on me, like I couldn't breathe, and I would just start feeling very anxious, like something was wrong or something was going to happen. And I would ask Jamie, are you okay? Is your heart okay? Is everything okay with you? Are you feeling okay? Same with my other son, he's fine and always been fine, but I would be bugging him, like, are you okay? And, did you poop today? Like anything that I could think of. And I also, since that happened with Jamie, and I realized that, I finally got my diagnosis. And my original diagnosis was just situational stress anxiety. And then when the psychiatrist and I were talking, she connected it back to the fact that it all started after Jamie had gotten sick. And then she connected it to post-traumatic. I also had a situation a couple months ago after my pain pump trial where I had a spinal fluid headache, and I've had migraines my whole life. I've been on Topamax for my migraines. I've had Imitrex for my migraines. Migraines have never, I get them, I lay in bed, I deal with them. They are what they are. And when I had that spinal headache, it had taken my ability to sit up, to drive, I was stuck in bed. I had to have my husband help me to go to the bathroom. Like, I felt trapped in my own body. I could not do anything. And at that point, I realized that, oh my gosh, my stress is worsening. Like, I can feel this anxiety just is bubbling inside me, like horribly, horribly. And then at that point, it just worsened. After that, I would be sitting there and I had this overwhelming feeling like I was gonna die. Sorry, there's a motorcycle going by. I just had this overwhelming feeling like I was gonna die. Like, I told my husband, I was like, this is my life insurance policy and my wills and my phone, and like I got crazy with it, but I could not just help that unbelievable feeling. And I called my doctor and I made an appointment with my psychiatrist, and I was telling her, like, I can't help this feeling and it comes over me. And she's like, do you realize if there's anything that triggers it? Is there anything that helps it? And there's not really anything that helps it once it happens, but she gave me coping mechanisms so that I can talk to myself when I start having those things happen. So, like, if I'm in a car and it starts to happen, I can talk myself out of it. I'm okay right now. The kids are okay. My husband's okay. We're all okay. We're driving. We're going to do this. It's going to be fun. Or, just try to talk myself into realizing that everything's okay and my situation that I'm in is okay. And that has really helped me. But my biggest point to this video is I really wanted to talk to the chronic illness moms out there, or the moms that had a child born with any kind of disability, illness, what have you, or if you yourself have a chronic illness or disability, and you have those moments where you feel overwhelmed and you just have that anxiety, the chest pressure, you just feel like something's horribly wrong and you can't control it. it may or may not be PTSD. If you've had a traumatic event, whether it be situational, whether it be an actual event that occurred, such as a car wreck, or you know, surgery, that, you know, it could be any number of things that trigger it. Like I told you, my very first diagnosis was situational stress anxiety, and they thought that I was becoming stressed when I was put in certain situations. So the first counselor was trying to connect that I would become stressed with doctor's appointments or things like that, and I was like, but that doesn't make sense, because it didn't happen at every doctor's appointment, nor could I really connect a doctor's appointment that it had happened at. It was usually random moments where it would just overwhelmingly hit me, and I would just not be able to control it, and I didn't know what to do. But PTSD is not something that's talked about, especially in other people, other than, you know, we finally are getting awareness for our troops that deserve it more than, you know, they absolutely need awareness, and we need the mental health awareness out there, and heck, we need a lot right now. You know, I truly believe that a lot of our situations right now going on in the States with the shootings that keep happening, and just the things that keep occurring, a lot of them could be declined if we had more mental health facilities and help. And if you feel like you are going through that situation, I urge you to talk to someone. There are phone numbers. I will link everything down below. I will try to find it all and link it all below. That way you can have someone to talk to. But I just wanted you to know that it can happen to you, and not just be a, you know, something traumatic that you've seen or felt. It can be any number of things that triggers it, and you may not even be aware that that's what it was, and you just thought it was stress or anxiety or whatever. But with that, I will end this video. If you ever need to talk to someone, oh, dogs, you are more than welcome to leave me a comment down below. I will reply. If you have a question on resources or anything like that, I will find it out. I can't promise you that I will get to you like ASAP, but I promise you it will be soon. I know I'm not consistent on my videos as someone with chronic illness, plus a chronically ill child, going to school. I work full time. I have other things going on. My youngest son wrestles and plays baseball, and we have a lot going on. So I hope to really try to be more consistent with my videos, though. It'll probably be more car videos where I'm driving and talking, because that seems to be the only time I have time. But I hope to actually get those videos out. I'm gonna record another one right now, because I just feel really passionate right now to share a lot of stuff that's been on my mind. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Give my video a thumbs up, and make sure you leave a comment for me. I would love to hear from you, even if you just watched just because, or you found it, or you have a friend going through something, or a family member. And also, make sure you check on your people. If you haven't heard from them in a while, check on them. Send them a text, say hi, make sure they're all right, because sometimes that can really turn around someone's day, and you never know what they're going through until you send it to them. So, all right, so I'm going to check out. Bye.